This program is produced by the volunteers of Tellico Village Broadcasting. Welcome and good morning to the County Update. I'm your host, Elliot Domans, and to my right is our County Commission Chairman, who needs no introduction, Henry Cullen.
Good morning, Elliot.
Good morning, Henry. Boy, we got a lot on the docket this morning, I can see that.
We have quite a few items to cover this morning to bring the people in the village up to speed with what's happening in the county.
Well, let's get right to it then.
Well, it's a new year and the county's back at work, and there are a number of items that we've been working on both through the holiday season break and starting now in January and February. And the first one up is what, Elliot?
Project Z. Z is in zebra, Z is in
Zulu.
Zulu, exactly.
Anyway, Project Z was the Chinese foam manufacturer that was going to build in Center 75, which is down at 72 in the interstate. That's the industrial park for Loudon County and Loudon City. They were going to build a new building and manufacture foam products out of it. Unfortunately, during the time that we were negotiating with them, they went ahead and bought a building over in South Carolina that was already done, and they could start up operations a lot sooner than they would have at Center 75. So it's back to the drawing boards for Jack Qualls and the EDA. Hopefully we can get a tenant in Center 75 to start manufacturing, start bringing good paying jobs to Loudon County. It's unfortunate that Project Z went to South Carolina, but welcome to business in the United States.
Well, that's a sad day for Loudon County, I'm sure, but you know, you snooze, you lose, right?
That's it.
Okay.
And they make business decisions based on their profit and loss sheet.
Absolutely. Now, the next subject topic I find very interesting. Innovative Pet Treat Company?
Innovative Pet Treat Company relocated about this time last year to Blair Bend. Another Chinese company, and they were manufacturing pet treats for cats and dogs. We added $10,000 from the county fund to renovate the building, upgrade the utilities, and turn it into a manufacturing almost on the level of food quality. Well, they went into operation and they ran for about 11 months. And unfortunately, in today's marketplace with competition, they were unable to make it, and therefore they went out of business. So we have a building that's been upgraded. Hopefully it can be used for food service, food manufacturing, and the EDA is working on getting a tenant for that building. So unfortunately, another business situation in today's climate that didn't make it.
That's really that's really a shame, because now instead of the center getting a tenant there with the Z foam, they're out, and now the pet treat thing, apparently after much customization to another building, they're out.
It's the business climate we operate in.
Well, let's talk about something a little closer to home and maybe not with so many headaches, and that's the clerk of the courts.
The clerk of the courts, as most of you know, Lisa Niles was the clerk of the court. Fred Cheney was the clerk and master over at the county at the city courthouse. Fred Cheney elected to retire. I think it was after 40 some odd years of service to the county. Chancellor Williams appointed Lisa Niles to replace Fred Cheney as the clerk and master. That left her clerk of the court position open. Since an appointed position by Chancellor Williams, She had to resign as clerk of the courts, and we had to appoint someone new. There were a number of candidates that applied for that position. When the voting was done, and the commission gets to appoint that person, when the voting was done, the odds-on candidate with 6 votes was Steve Harrelson. Steve Harrelson, if you remember, ran for mayor last May and was defeated. He was also the Park and Recs director for Lenore City. Steve got the position. He started into it the next day after he was appointed, and he has done a good job organizing it, getting it back into good running order, getting the cases up, doing all the stuff that goes along with it. And last week, if you read in the paper, he dropped the long-standing lawsuit that Lisa Niles had with the county. So it has worked out. Steve has to run for re-election next February this time, and again 2 years later. But Steve was the one that got appointed, and it has worked out very well so far.
Well, that's good. Steve's a great guy, and he'll make a great clerk of the courts.
Yep.
Now we come to the next item on the agenda, Henry, lighting projects.
There's 2 lighting projects. One has already been approved, and that's at 444 and 72. Let me clarify that. It is not a traffic light. It is street lights lining both sides of the street on the L, going around the corner on 72 and down 444. It has been 4 years in the makings. Well, what happened when it came up for our turn to get it done? It had to be re-engineered. The price of it went up. All of that has been approved. Hopefully, TDOT will put it out to bid this first quarter of this year. The cost went up to $112,000.
Wow.
A lot of people have been asking Elliot about 321 and 444. And I'm going to tell you, that is dark on a real rainy night. We are going to try to get that street light put together with the one at 95 and 321 going into Greenback, put it in a grant project, and get that one accomplished. All I'm going to tell you is we're working on it, and the wheels of government turn slow.
Now, one of the things that TDOT did in their turn lane expansions that they did up and down 444, there are reflectors that they've put down, and that makes it a better situation at nighttime for nighttime driving, because your headlights hit those reflectors and it helps light the way a little bit.
I believe, Elliot, they call them cat eyes, and that is the best thing they did. 2 things they did extremely well. They finished the project on time. The striping, although some say it's wide, you can see it on a rainy, dark night.
Oh, yeah.
And the cat eyes help out tremendously. So I give kudos to TDOT and APAC and Harrison Construction for the job they did on 444.
I would agree. It's a super job, and a big plus as an addition for Tellico villagers driving home at that ridiculous Tellico midnight hour of 9 p.m. Okay, now the topic that's on most people's mind, and I'm sure on mine as well too, the jail construction. How are we doing on that?
That has been, and I got to knock on wood, people, that has gone extremely well and has been a smooth operation so far. The jail's at a little over 30% complete. We're still on target to open on January 2020, although as I'm listening to the rain beat on the roof here, we could run into some weather delays. We've been getting hit hard with rain, but if everything goes well, it will open in January 2020, and it can't come soon enough. We are overcrowded at the current jail. I'm not so much worried about the overcrowdedness as I am about the officer safety. The biggest issue for us right now is the Loudon County Fire and Rescue building is butt right up against the expansion. And they bought land at Sugar Limb down by 75, and they're looking to relocate, and hopefully this budget cycle we can help them do just that. That's my primary goal, to help Loudon County Fire and Rescue get a new building on their new site, and we'll put a bulldozer to the old one and clean it up.
Okay, super. Now, we talked about that as in one of our earlier sessions, and,
Yep.
But now it looks like it's actually going to happen.
It's getting close.
Okay, that's another no oops problem for the county.
We got through the worst part, as I've talked in previous tapings, that the thing we were most worried about was site preparation. Will we hit a sinkhole, an Indian burial ground, an old garbage dump? Who knows what's in the ground? We came through that without a problem. We haven't hit any.
That's knock on wood, they said in unison.
That's it.
Henry, how about the HOA town hall meeting? There are some issues there, I think, that our viewers would like to hear about.
I had the opportunity to attend the HOA town hall meeting. And I listened to Bruce Johnson, the POA president, lament about the $7.3 million in taxes they pay to the county and get nothing in return. And I can assure my friends and neighbors in District 7, if there was a way to get some of that tax money back for the village, it would have been done by now. But here's the issue so that everybody knows what you're up against. Everyone in Tellico Village, including myself and Elliot, bought into a private subdivision in the unincorporated part of Loudon County. And as such, it's against the law to give public funds to a private entity such as Tellico Village. Now, Bruce mentioned they were going to try to get the law changed. And that would be a formidable task, because here's what you're up against. You'd have to change the state constitution. You'd have to change the tax law. And then you'd have to take on 95 counties. I just don't see that happening. And the reason is, if we were to give funds back to Tellico Village, what about Wind River, Avalon, Rarity Bay, and every other subdivision? The state constitution is set up so that all property is taxed equally and fairly. And we do that in Loudon County. The other thing we look at, and I hear all the time, is what about the roads? The roads are public roads, but they're not in the county road system, so therefore the county can't do anything to help out with the roads. It's simply against the law. Eddie Simpson, the highway foreman, if he were to work on a private road, would be subject to a misdemeanor, a big fine, and 30 days in jail. And I can assure you, Eddie is not signing up for 30 days in jail and a big fine.
Absolutely.
What do you have to do if you wanted to put the roads? We have, what I hear, 110 miles of private roads or public roads in the village. They have to be 24 foot wide. They have to have curbing on each side, storm drains, and a 12-inch base consisting of gravel, binder, and 2 inches of blacktop. That's the facts behind it. Now, can they work to get 501c4 corporations tax exempt on equipment purchases? Probably can. But as far as getting tax money back, it's a slim chance. Schools, I hear that all the time. Well, we don't put any children in school in the Loudon County system. Well, I'll give you a little surprise. There's about 84 students between Loudon County and Lenoir City schools. And that yellow limousine that runs through the village twice a day isn't doing it on a sightseeing trip. They're picking up the children going to school.
No sightseeing allowed in Tellico Village with that big yellow bus, right, Henry?
Yep.
They're actually picking up kids. Who would have thought of such a novel idea?
I got one other thing, Elliot. I've heard a million questions. But why the county didn't help out the library after its flood this summer?
Uh-oh.
And I want to tell you, within probably a week of it happening, I met Becky Hale at the library and I took a look at the damage. And at the time, the bill to repair it was $60,000. They got it down to 45, and they paid the first 15 according to Betty, and they were short 30,000. I said, we'll do 15 at the county, and hopefully the POA will help out with their golf tournament. Well, we had it all set up. We had $27,000 left over from capital projects from the previous budget year. We set aside $15,000 for the Tellico Village Library, and Becky and Carolyn Page were due to come back in front of the Capital Projects Committee, bring their 501c3 paperwork and their financial statement, which is required of every nonprofit. And on the day they were to do that, they withdrew the request for the $15,000. They said, we cannot, in good conscience, continue our request for funds. We respectfully withdraw the request for the $15,000. So that's the story on the library. The county did not walk away from it. The county was ready, willing, and able to help them. But unfortunately, and thank God for the generosity of the people in the village, it was able to be taken care of by donations.
That's terrific, Henry. And once again, you know, we come to a close on the County Commission report with your chairman and head honcho, my good friend Henry Cullen, right to my right. I'm Elliot Domans, and we thank you so much for watching Tellico Village Broadcasting today. We are a production of Tellico Village Broadcasting, and we look forward very much to seeing you again when we meet the next time.
Have a good day, everybody.